Hello and welcome back to another video on the rest of the way and to another edition of NXT 2.0 out of 10, and it's a huge show today because of course it is the go home show ahead of NXT in your house this Saturday. So yeah, lots going on. We've got the final build up for that and all the big matches, Braun Breaker versus Joe Casey, Grimes versus Hayes, etc, etc. So let's kick straight off with Roderick Strong and Damon Kemp, and they were headed for a match against Pretty Deadly. Strong told the Creed brothers and Ivy Nard to take the night off before heading out to the ring, and then we got the match. Prince and Roderick kicked off the match and Wilson was tagged in with the champs in control early on. Roddy and Kemp returned with some tandem backbreaker before Strong followed up with a gutbuster on Prince. Wilson came back in and took the backbreaker from Roddy as the match continued. Outside the ring, Prince sent Kemp into the steel steps before the champs tried to attack Roddy with their titles. The Creed brothers came out. Julius tanked the shot with the belt with his face, saving Roderick. The distraction allowed Pretty Deadly to hit spilled milk on Roddy and get the victory. And yeah, overall this gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Really decent match. And yeah, perfect build ahead of the match. Pretty Deadly getting the win, but also picking over Diamond Mine wrestlers like Roddy Strong, who you know. So yeah, this went well for me. Cameron Grimes and Sarah Sikoa then backstage when Duke Hudson walked in and started arguing with them about who deserved the title shot. Solo and Hudson then set up a match for later on NXT before Grayson Waller was backstage and was trash talking Briggs, who showed up behind him. The two set up a match for later before Tony D'Angelo and Santos Escobar were at their yacht meeting, and with the rest of the Goddo Del Fantasma and Don's associate, they set up a 6-man tag team match with a stipulation that loser would have to join the winners team for this Saturday before he got Cora Jade versus Elektra Lopez. Lopez was in control of the match early on and dodged most of Jay's strikes while getting a near fall for slam. Jade was then caught in a submission on the mat but managed to grab the ropes and send Lopez outside with a counter. Cora got some big moves in, including a double stomp before getting a near fall. Elektra then hit a modified blue thunderbomb before being kicked off the top rope. Jade then hit a top rope senton to pick up the W. And yeah, gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Decent match. It's just continuing the job really of building Cora up to possibly being the next challenger for Mandy after Wendy Chu, but yeah, it did its job here. 6 out of 10. Wesley was backstage and Sangle wished him luck for his next match with Zara and Quinn, which was up next. And then Quinn was dominating early in the match and took Lee down before kicking him over on the mat. Quinn had Lee by the arm and held him down to the mat before dropping him with his injured ribs on the ropes. Quinn then hit Lee with the lawn dart and sent him into the middle turnbuckle. Zion set up for his finisher, but Lee managed to roll him up for a surprise pin and get the win. Finally, I've been worried that this day wouldn't come, but it actually has done. I'm bloody happy about it. 7 out of 10. Great stuff. Can we have a continued push for Wesley now, because he's great and really deserves it. Backstage, Roderick Strong was furious at his team for interfering in the match. He told the Creed brothers that if they failed to beat Pretty Deadly for the titles at In Your House, the duo would be kicked out of Diamond Mine. Before Joe Gacy was backstage and cut another promo about the Steiner brothers being somewhat off their rockers, and they were still on the roster. Gacy said that Bronto had no control over himself when he was angry, which would lead to his downfall. We then saw Breaker freaking out in his locker room as the lights flickered and he almost smashed the TV. However, he gaffed himself at the last moment. Before Kaden, Katrina and Wendy Chu were in the ring with Toxic Attraction for the contract signing, the champs made fun of the rookies and reminded them that it would be their first PLE. The challengers fired back and reminded Toxic Attraction that they had already beaten them. The champs kept on talking about and called the challengers children before the crowd turned on them. The signatures were done before Wendy shot a spitball at Mandy. A brawl broke out and the tag champs were tossed outside the ring before Katana and Kaden set up a table in the ring and put Mandy on top of it. Wendy then got a big dive and sent her through the table. And yeah, this was basically all the build that we needed. Creates that little seed of doubt for the matches this Saturday, and yeah, it did its job. So yeah, good stuff overall. Ivy Nile was backstage when Kiana James came in and said the Creeds had very little chance of winning the titles at NXT in Your House. Nile attacked her but then backed off before we moved on to Solo Sikoa versus Duke Hudson. Hudson had took a beating early on but managed to turn things around with a big German suplex. He then had a few more suplexes but failed to get the pin. Sikoa got up and tried for some strikes but took yet another suplex for a near fall. Sikoa then got in control and was tossing Hudson around before getting a smash drop followed by a hip attack in the corner. Solo went up to the ropes and hit the splash before picking up the win. And yeah, overall this gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Decent win for Sikoa. Shame to see Hudson. I would like to see him got a bit more offense here, but yeah, really building up Sikoa as a big challenger for the mid-card title. So yeah, 6 out of 10. Newcomer Taya Hale was announced that she was done and will be joining Chase U now she's done with high school. Before we got Josh Briggs versus Grayson Waller. Briggs had control early on, dropped Waller on the ropes before the latter came back with a big head-to-head. Waller got some big kicks but took a vertical suplex from Briggs. Von Wagner and Robinson showed up at ringside and Wagner headed to the apron, distracting Briggs. Waller then used distraction to blindside Briggs with the rolling cutter and picked up the win. After the match, Wagner attacked Briggs and sent his arm into the ring post, but Jensen rushed in to make the save. And yeah, just a few days before their title match, to be able to have a Briggs squash like that, yeah, to be honest, I just wasn't too in favour in this. maybe could have been done another time, so it gets 5 out of 10. Before we got Ivy Nile versus Kiana James. Nile was dominating the match early on, but James locked in a hold on the mat. The former came back with some huge kicks and got a near fall before James lifted her and drove her into the corner. James tried for a suplex, but it was blocked before Nile turned into a submission move. James broke free, but took more kicks before Ivy slammed her onto the mat one last time before getting the win. And yeah, to be honest, this was just another match that just felt kind of there, to be honest, so it gets a 5 out of 10. And after the match, Pretty Deadly came out to Mark Nile and asked her what she would do when Diamond One was over. The Creed brothers came out and took them down before NXT continued. Yeah, it just kind of felt like an add on that bit too, to be honest. But anyway, moving on then to our main event, it's Cameron Grimes versus Nathan Fraser. Carmelo and Trick were on commentary as Grimes took control of the match early on with a hold. Fraser sent Grimes outside with a Hurricane Runner before trying for a dive, but the champ dodged it as we headed for a break. Back on NXT, Fraser was leaping all around the ring but caught a big slam for a near fall. The two traded strikes in the middle of the ring before Grimes took a knee hit to the head but took Fraser down with a clothesline. Fraser then went up to the top rope before Grimes went after him and got a German suplex from the top. Grimes followed out with a cave in and picked up the win. Melo came into the ring to attack Grimes after the match, but then the champ threw him off. Trick and Melo retreated as NXT went off the air. And yeah, this was really good. Put Fraser over, but of course the champ gets the win just before it. But yeah, still put Fraser over, and then having two challenges on commentary as well. Trick and Melo was also really entertaining. So on the whole, enjoyed that a lot. 7 out of 10 from me. And overall, NXT this week gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Yeah, it's kind of like a standard episode of NXT, to be honest. And there was some good stuff on it, some bits that really built up, some bits that I just don't really get, to be honest. But yeah, on the whole, I'd say it kind of started off quite well and then maybe dropped a bit and picked up again for the main event. But just a mixed episode of NXT, like we come to expect, really. But anyway, guys, that's it for you. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, connect, lots of comments down below, follow us in the description for daily wrestling news, and subscribe to my channel on the screen, and I'll be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace!